Today I'm going to be sharing with you the 13 books that I read in the month of February. So before we start this, I do want to say that I pretty much listened to every single one of these on audio because something about like taking the time, sitting down, reading with my eyeballs just did not work out for the month of February. I'm hoping that March is a little bit better. I just feel like I was really busy with work stuff and it was just easier to listen to a book while I was trying to get everything done. But hopefully March I'll actually have books that I read and not just listened to. But I only have 3 of these books, like the physical copies, to show you. Everything else I'm gonna have like that little pop-up. So let's just get into it because I read 13 books in the month of February. I started off the month with a reread. This is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I did listen to this because I've already read it, so I was like, I could just listen and I know what's happening, you know what's going on. It was a lot of fun to listen to it after having read it like a year and a half ago, but this was our book club book for the month and that's why I reread it. And again, it came out 5 stars. I love this book. I love everything about this book. No complaints here. Like I really did enjoy this book. It's just like, it's such a fun book, and she tackles hard topics, but does it in such a lighthearted way where it's like you still get the emotional impact, but at the same time, you're not feeling depressed about it. You're like, it's a little bit more light, if you know what I mean. The next book I also listened to on audio, and that is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I did enjoy this book. There were definitely parts of it that I just felt were kind of dragging, and then parts that I was like laughing out loud about and whatever. Overall, I enjoyed this book. I don't remember what I gave it though, so I've got to check my rating here. I gave it 4 stars. So I did enjoy it. I had a great time with it. This is like I guess it's kind of like a second chance romance, but it's like childhood friends to enemies to lovers, like childhood rivalry. That's what it is. It was my first billionaire romance that I read, and I did enjoy it, and I'm going to continue on with the series. But I think if I had had the time, I would have enjoyed it more reading it because I didn't love the narrators for the audio. But again, it just didn't work out that way. I had to listen to it or it just wasn't happening. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was cute, and I would reread it at some point. Maybe I will, but yeah. I listened to His and Hers by Alice Feeney because I really wanted to watch the TV show. So I listened to this in like the matter of a few days. It was so fast, so quick. There was a lot going on in this book, and I do think it was good, but I would check your trigger warnings on this because it just had a lot of stuff that might be triggering for people. But I did enjoy this, and then I followed it up with watching the show, and I also really loved the show. So I had a good time with this. I know some people are very about it, but I still enjoyed it and thought it was good. I gave it 5 stars because I was that invested in the storyline. I was like, what is about to happen? I need to know right now. Next up, I listened to Crossroads by Devney Perry. This is one of her romance books. I think it was just romance. I don't think it was like romantic suspense because it didn't feel suspenseful. So I think it was just romance, and it was like a second chance romance kind of thing. And it was about this woman. I don't remember everything, but it was basically about this woman who buys this ranch from her like childhood best friend slash crush's dad, and then she comes back to run the ranch and is basically like his boss. And you know, they've had like this history, this past or whatever, and she's got stuff in her life, some trauma, some stuff. Anyway, it's really good. I highly recommend reading it, but I don't want to give like the whole plot away. But I did enjoy this one. It is on Kindle Unlimited, and it is one of them that has like the Audible thing with it. So if you have Kindle Unlimited and you have Audible, you can listen for free. So that's what I did. Then I decided to go with the Amazon short story series, and this one is Time Will Tell by Hannah Bonham Young, however you say her name. It was cute. I really honestly don't remember these as well because they were just like super short stories, and I read several of them, so I don't really remember what it was about, but I did think that it was cute. I mean, I gave it 4 stars, so I think this one was actually my favorite, not most memorable, obviously, I don't remember it. Which one was this one? Oh, yeah, okay, I remember this. So this woman, she basically finds this time capsule that her grandmother had, or her grandmother's like dying wish was that she wanted her to find this time capsule, and it just kind of like walks through like her grandma's first love, which was actually this woman who lived, I can't remember where she lived, but anyway, but then she ended up marrying the girl's grandfather. So it was like the grandmother who married the grandfather, but she had this love with this other woman. And so she like has this time capsule or whatever, has her granddaughter find it. So in the process, the granddaughter is trying to find her grandmother's first love, and she finds that lady's grandson, and they have like a whole moment. It's very cute. It's very cute, like short little story. story. So I did really enjoy that one. Next up, we have Anatomy of an Alibi. I did read about 100 pages of this, like with my eyeballs, but then I switched to audio because I was running out of time. It was for book club and I just needed to get it done. This felt so messy and chaotic to me and a little hard to follow at times. And so I didn't love it that much. I still gave it 3 stars, but I think this is one that maybe you have to read and not just listen to, because I feel like there were so many points of views going on and jumping from different timelines, and it was really hard to keep track of, where I feel like if you can read about it like in the chapter, you know, and you can see that it says, oh, it's this person's point of view and it's 10 years ago, it's a little bit easier than just like listening to audio. I don't know if that makes sense, or maybe it's just me, but I felt like it was hard to keep up with. Once I switched to audio, I was like, what's happening? I still gave it 3 stars, but I felt like a lot of people in book club also felt like it was just kind of chaotic and messy and a little hard to follow. So basically it's about these 2 women. They switch places. The one woman's husband is found unalived and they both need an alibi, but only one of them has an alibi. It sounds a lot better than it actually ended up being. So the next book that I listened to was Sandwich, and this is the book club book for March, but I was like, you know what, I can listen to it. This story is about this woman who is basically kind of in her 50s and having her like midlife crisis. She's going through menopause. She's dealing with aging parents and then aging kids who are like now adults and kind of empty nesting and whatever. And they go and they vacation, I believe in Cape Cod, somewhere around there. And it wasn't a bad book. I want to say that. It wasn't a bad book. I definitely was not the target audience for this. I could not really relate to really anything. I could relate to a few things with the main character, such as like always feeling anxious or worried about your people. That I could relate to, but I couldn't relate to menopause. I'm not quite at that stage in my life yet. I couldn't relate to having like the aging parents because my parents are still pretty young. They had me really young. So like her parents in the book were like my grandparents' age. So like I can relate to having aging grandparents, but not parents. So it's definitely a different, and I don't have kids and I'm not planning on having any kids. So that I couldn't relate to. And if I did have kids, my kids would be young. So I wouldn't be, you know, having that same experience of being like an empty nester. So I thought the book overall was fine, but I just couldn't really connect with it as much. I was not the target audience for this book, but this is our book club book, so I wanted to read it. I'm glad I did, but I also just didn't love our main character. Her name was also Rachel, but they called her Rocky, and I just didn't vibe with her. And I was like, that's so sad because we share a name, but I just couldn't, I don't know. I think in the process of like worrying about everybody, she just kind of came off as terrible, which I do understand because, you know, you want to try to like be in control of stuff, not because you want to be in control, but because you're worried about everybody. And I could definitely relate to that, but I don't know, just the way she came across just was like not it for me. I actually didn't give this one a rating yet because I wasn't sure how I felt about it. So I've got to like sit with it. I'm definitely thinking 3 or 4 stars. It wasn't terrible, but I just also couldn't really relate. Next up, we have Second Act Romance by Julie Soto. It was another short story. I gave it 3 stars. I think that they were like in this musical theater. They were musical theater co-stars. I don't remember the exact thing. It was cute, but it wasn't like that memorable. It wasn't like, oh man, I can't stop thinking about this short story, you know? The next one is The Answer Is No by Frederick Bachman, and this one I found so funny because it was about this guy just trying to live his life, and he had people coming and knocking on his apartment door. One was like over a frying pan that somebody had like thrown out, and like the whole apartment complex committee people were just like, is this yours? Like, you can't just throw this out. Like, what kind of person does this? So they're like bugging him about this, and then he's got like a neighbor who's bugging him because he changed the Wi-Fi password and she was like using his Wi-Fi, and then it was like a funny but like very human type of short story. So I did enjoy this one. I really enjoy Frederick Bachman's writing and just how human all of his characters seem, and how I just feel like everybody can kind of relate to characters in his story. It's just very real and raw. Even like the lightheartedness of this story, I still felt like, oh man, like, you know, there's still a message in there that everybody can like get, you know? I have A Play for Love, and this is the one that I was thinking of, not the musical theater co-stars. But this one was also kind of like a similar, where they were like, they shared this kiss in this play, I think. I don't know. Again, they were fine. I still gave them 3 stars, but they weren't like super memorable books. And I really just did all of these so that way I could hit my goal of 13. Sometimes you have to read short stories. It still counts. It still counts. Next up, I have All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. This is a romantic suspense, and it's basically about this true crime podcaster who her sister was taken and they never found her, didn't know what happened to her. There was no closure. So she basically goes to these different towns where stuff similar has happened. She interviews the victims and she tries to help solve cases and stuff. So she's doing that. So she goes to the small town, and like the police officer, I don't know if he was like the sheriff of that town or just a police officer, but his sister had that, like she was abducted, but then she got away and came back, and kind of dealing with like the fallout of that and how it's really impacted her life. And he doesn't want this woman, like this podcaster woman, like interviewing her. He wants to protect his sister. In the process, like him and the interviewer fall in love and whatever. And it's a really great story, but that's kind of the gist of it. I gave this one 4 stars. I listened to it. I think this was one that I could listen to because of, no, I got this one on Hoopla. That's where it was. I was like, where did I listen to all these? I'm either listening to them on Libby, Hoopla, Audible, or Kindle Unlimited through, I believe, Audible. All right, and then the last book to wrap up the month of February is Valentine's Sleigh. This was another short story, and this one was wild. This one was truly wild. This one definitely stuck out. It was very memorable to me because basically this woman gets buried alive. And so it was pretty wild. It was a very wild book. And this one is by Nevessa Allen. I hope I'm saying her name right. Truly wild, definitely memorable, really stuck out to me. And I gave this one, I still gave it 3 stars. It wasn't like this masterpiece, but it was just like, what is happening? Like I was invested. I was invested in that one. So that one was really good. So there you have it. Those are the 13 books that I read / listened to in the month of February. What did you guys get up to in February? What did you read? Let me know in the comments. Were any of these on your list for February? Did you read any of those in February? Have you read any of them? Let me know. That is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.